Good morning, members. My name is Mike Power. I'm your candidate for E.S.T for the New York City District Council of Carpenters, running on the slate Stop the Steal, Stop the Merge, and Stop the Lie campaign, along with my President, Pete Corrigan, and Vice President, Anthony Vincent. I'm shooting a quick video today just to help people remember. Today's the 14th. Today's the 13th. Tomorrow will be the 14th. You have to the 14th, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, to call your locals to make sure all your assessments are paid up and your dues are paid up. So you're in good standing to make sure your vote counts. Please, if any of you have any doubts in your mind, call your local union to make sure you're in good standing. Today would be the last day probably to call for a replacement ballot. It takes about 2 days to get that, which means if you call today, you possibly get it Saturday. Any ballot you have has to be in the mail. First delivery for Monday morning. If not, chances are it will not make it to American arbitration. If you guys feel like you're at the last minute and you want to make that happen, that has to be there by 5 o'clock on the 19th, which will be Wednesday. Has to be in the American Arbitration Association holdings by 5 p.m. So if you try to send it anytime after Sunday night or early Monday morning, you would have to pay the extra money and send that express mail yourself. I've had people do it in the past. This election means that much to you and your family medical and your retirement age staying at 55, then you should do so, in my opinion. I think a couple of bucks involved in that to make that happen is important to you, would be important to me as well. Along with this video, I will put up the number to call if you don't have a ballot, but you must call them today to possibly get that ballot by Saturday. If you do receive it on Monday, you have no choice but to send that express mail if you want your vote to count. With that being said, this is what it looks like. If anyone can get a good look at that, that is the actual envelope, what it looks like coming in. It'll say on the back, on the bottom right here, urgent, New York City Vicinity District Council of Carpenters, election material enclosed, please forward. On the top, it says American Arbitration Association. Inside, there'll be a form, which is your ballot. You'll fill that out. You're going to put on the bottom, Mike Power for E.S.T. You're going to go up one, Pete Corrigan for president, and back down one for Anthony Vincent for vice president. You're going to take that ballot, fold it up, put it in the other envelope that says secret ballot. Then you'll take that, seal it, and you'll put it inside the return receipt ballot that goes back to American Arbitration. Self-stamped. All you got to do is drop it off in the mail. Once again, that's what it looks like, the envelope, so you guys have an idea. I will include, with this video, I'll put up the paperwork with the information, the phone number, so you can call for a replacement ballot if you need to. Very urgent that you do that today. It takes about 2 days to receive your ballot. If you did it today, you probably have it by Saturday. If you receive it on Monday, you're going to have to take it, fill it out, and you're going to have to send that back overnight. You're going to have to pay the extra money if you want your vote to count. I can't express to you guys how important this election is. Every election, I've been saying it over and over again, every merger throughout the country, they take over everything. They raise retirement age, they take over the medical, the whole 9 years. They take away retirement medical. The difference with this merger is they're only taking our money, which is even more scarier to me. And these other councils will make decisions moving forward. So, you know, if you guys think that's not a problem, then I guess sit back and relax and see how the ride goes for you. People asked me yesterday, some people asked me a question, what's my plan if I don't win this election? I'll be honest with you, so I'm done. Yeah, they're going to take this merger. Within 2 years, you'll see they'll merge everything. They're going to sell the building to the district council. They'll sell it. The district council will stay on the 3rd floor. They'll sign an 18-year lease, which is what they're in the works of doing right now. The school will probably end up being highlighted somewhere else. Who knows what they'll do? What will end up setting? They talk about building schools up in the north area and having people stay overnight to go to schools. I don't know what the plans are. I've heard different stories of what the plan might be. They'll take away retirement medical from the retirees. I believe that'll cause a vacuum effect. I think a lot of members will just start going out on disability. Their bodies will break down. And, you know, the members who wives and stuff like that have school jobs and they have, you know, government jobs with good medical, those members will be all right. The other members, you know, they'll end up just packing it in. I mean, you know, I guess our carpenters in Westchester and Long Island, they don't have medical either. So a lot of them go to 62 or 65 to work, right? So at least they can get their Social Security. It'll put a big strain on the contractors. You know, a lot more injuries will happen. The older the people on the job site, more injuries will happen, right? Which is a human fact. I've got injured myself where, you know, back when I was younger, I was much more durable, to get taken a lot more shots. You know, now I can't do that as much, right? So it will have an effect on our industry. Don't be fooled, right? So that'll affect us. It'll also affect the people coming in, right? If you're a young kid now coming into an industry and you don't see much of a future, good retirement, good lifetime medical, you're going to make those decisions about maybe the carpenters union isn't what it's meant to be for me. And, if a lot of us were younger now, starting off in this business, we'd have to think that over ourselves, right? I'm 54 years old in a couple of weeks. If I was 24 years old, would I get into an organization or start something in a career where, I would have to work to 65 and have no medical for my family and take those type of reductions and then have to work more hours to get my pension credits, which is more than likely will happen, like with the other mergers. New Jersey has to do 1,380 hours. We're still 840. So a lot of our workers, like at the Javits Center, people who shop work, they're gonna almost have to double the hours they do every year to get medical coverage for their family. And a lot of new people will be like, this isn't worth it for me. I'll take a sanitation job. I'll get a job with the cities of labor, and then do another way to make a living. I don't think this will be an opportunity, which is sad because this has been a good business to a lot of us. But trying to feel like you could do this at 65 when just extended things to cops and firemen. Like firemen can retire for 20 years, and there's no way you can tell me or anyone can convince me what we do for a living isn't more impacting and wear and tear on our job than any one of those other industries. You can't tell me a garbage man has more impact on his body or a cop or a fireman, because what we do and the structures we build and the monuments we build throughout this world, we'd all be living in caves right now if it wasn't for industry workers like us, right? We're the ones that build America. We're the ones that built this world, this country, right? We build everything, guys. We're the ones that put it all together. There'd be no hospitals, there'd be no nothing without us. We build it all. There'd be no hospital or police station for cops to work in or firemen, right? But we weren't building them. So, but come to the cost. We love our industry. We love what we do. It's in our blood. It's in my blood. I loved it. I live in a beautiful house. I did this all myself. This wasn't just like this when I found it, right? It's from years of the trade and learning a craft from my father and my grandfather, which I'm very appreciative of. But my grandfather lived the American dream. So did my grandmother. They both worked. My grandmother did 40 years with AT&T. My grandfather had 50-something years with the carpenters union. Both retired with decent pensions and lived the American dream. And retired, and raised a family with 6 kids. And can you do that in today's world with the carpenters union? Remains to be seen. I don't know. I still believe there's a lot of opportunities in the construction industry if you keep your eyes open. But there won't be a lot for a lot of people, especially in this. They count on the union reps and the organizers and the union leadership to fight for them. I don't believe they're having that anymore. That's why I put do my hat in the ring here to make sure that I give an opportunity to fight for what I thought was right for the members. All I could do is what I've done, right? I put up the fight. I got in there swinging, and I held my own, right? Took a lot of time away from my friends and family to run this campaign. I had a lot of people help me. I met some great people along the way. Had some good conversations with a lot of people. But this is up to them now. It's up to the members to voice their opinion. And by doing that is, fill out this paperwork and send it in. And if you vote, stop the merge, stop the steal, stop the lies, when I get into that 9th floor, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to fight for us. And I'm going to put a stop to plans of taking away our medical, plans of retiring our medical, plans of having other regional councils making decisions with our pension fund. Not happening under my watch. I don't believe in it. I believe we can handle it ourselves, right? We've been doing it for the last 125 years. Why would we have other people making decisions for us? It's not business sense. It's nothing sense, right? Like if I got a job and doing a job, I get the job done myself. I don't have other people make decisions for me. The only way I can get things done, I hire the guys I want to hire. I do the job the way I want to do it, and that way I know what's getting done is done right. We got a tough one, guys. We got a tough one here, but I still feel confident. I think we got the upper hand here, but the ballots have to come back to be counted, and they have to be back by Wednesday. So I spoke to a lot of members yesterday, and they hadn't put it in the mail yet. Hopefully they will. Today, tomorrow, they'll get it in. But I remember I sat in a room with American Arbitration attorney, I think she was, one of the attorneys there. She told me that there's a large influx of our ballots that come back after the expiration date. I think there was like 1,500 or 1,200, she told me. And then we have a large amount that get returned to sender, that their address was going to correct. So if you call that number on there and your address was right, they will send you a new one. And remember, they always count the second ballot. So if someone mailed back your first ballot, which we had this guy, Danny Haybar, hi Danny, if you're watching this, his ballot, someone got a hold of his first ballot, sent it in and filled it out. Danny never received it. He called for a second one. He got that second ballot, filled it out. I was at American arbitration, and both ballots showed up in the mail. So someone got hold of his first ballot, filled it out, and the state counted the second one. So we know the second one was good. Who filled out the second one? I don't know. I asked the election monitors about it. No one would investigate it. They wouldn't even let us open up the original ballot, which I assumed somebody got their hands on it. Who knows how that happened? What form of corruption was involved in it? Or was it just it get stuck somewhere in mail and someone just had to fill it out? I don't know, but someone mailed it back. With that being said, the fact that they called for the second ballot contradicted it, because the second ballot was the one that was counted. It's very important for you guys to understand that if you didn't receive the ballot, you should really call up and get a replacement ballot, because it could be a possibility someone else got your ballot, they filled it out and sent it back for the other two, right? So make sure you're filling out your ballots. You know, that happened to Danny, and Danny will tell a story about it, because when we got it, we were sitting in the room. He couldn't believe it. He knows he didn't fill out the first one. So there was a little shadiness involved in that one, it's a proven fact. But they said it wouldn't change the outcome of the election. I wasn't looking to change the outcome of the election. I just love to know if this election is so secure, who got a hold of that first ballot. To this day, would love to know who got a hold of that first ballot. So, you know, the only thing we could do is we got to play by the rules, right? They're going to cheat and lie, and they're going to show up on job sites that you've never seen them before, and they're going to spin their wheels and tell you these people aren't qualified to do a job. You know, don't believe that, guys. More than qualified to do a job. I got plenty of people behind me that are recommending me for this job, that are highly intelligent, that are Mike Beeler, who's done this job, people who know I can do the job. It's not an issue. Most of these guys that were in there, they were puppets in the industry. They never fought for anything or ran an election on their own. They were always put there because they're part of a machine and they're going on it. You know, what I'm doing is impractical, right? I'm coming in by myself, and I'm kicking in doors and knocking down shit to get in the front room. But if you ask me, that's what we need, right? For union labor, we need somebody who's willing to get in there and fight the fight, right? We're not looking for someone that's going to rubber stamp everything and just go along with the flow. I think good union leaders and good union men and women are people willing to fight for what they believe in, right? So if that's what you want, then I'm your candidate. You're going to vote to stop the merge, stop the steal, like power for E.S.T, right? But if you guys want rubber stamps and guys that are just going to go with the flow and try to figure out how they can narrate the situation so they can get away with their 2 pensions and get out and walk away with a nice chunk of money, then you're going to vote for those guys, because that's about pretty much where they're going to handle it. Seen a lot of jobs while I'm walking around out there. No shop stewards, nobody documenting our money, other trades doing our work. And, that's all happening because of weak leadership, and it starts from the top down, you can't run an organization from the top down. Remember, guys, you got to build, a membership. You got to build a community amongst your members, right? You make them feel like they're part of something, right? Like I try to say a scenario, which is probably a bad scenario, but I'm going to say it anyway. If we all go out to a bar, we're part of somebody, we're all together. I got your back, you got my back. And that's the way it's got to be, and we got to get that back. And then we're going to have to find ways to work together to make everyone feel like they're part of something. And I feel if we're all part of something and we all have a piece of the game, we're all going to fight harder for it, right? And I want everyone to understand the way I look at it. I go out of my way and make calls. I get people jobs. I help people with such private situations, and I won't get into details for the people that I've helped out in life that have needed stuff with getting attorneys or doing stuff like that, because I get nothing out of it. I do it, and I'll always do it because I believe it's the right thing to do. I got to help that person because I want everyone to feel like that. As long as someone's out there looking to you, listening to you, helping you out, that we're part of a family. We really are a brotherhood and sisterhood, right? And if we could somehow get that back, I think we'll be unstoppable, And I'm going to do my best when I'm elected over the next 4 years to build that. So I'm going to get it to the point where you guys will see a huge difference. We're going to get more things going, and we're going to break through all the bullshit red tape and try to get everyone involved and have everyone have a voice and hopefully get things back on the right track. It's not the stop. There's the bullshit, the lies and the consolidation and this and that. Nobody wants to answer stuff. And these business agents you never see now, they're showing up on jobs. Come on, these guys have darker tans in the middle of winter than half the people do in the summer. I mean, they got golf clubs hanging out the back of their cars. I mean, we've all seen it. We've seen them show up at turkey drives with the golf clubs in the back of the truck. They take the first picture handing out the turkey, they jump in the thing, they're headed to the golf course. We just gotta stop the bullshit, right? We got to make sure BAs are doing their jobs, organizers are doing their jobs, right? They're not hired to hand out turkeys and book bags. They're hired to go organize work. They're out there to be police in our jurisdiction, I should be walking on a job site and seeing 12 or 13 laborers with chainsaws and tool belts on. Members are sitting at home, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for it. People have to be held accountable. And originally, that's what my title was, accountability and transparency. And the word accountability should mean a lot to everybody, right? We should all be accountable, even me. Listen, I don't have all the answers, guys, and I'm not always perfect, believe me. If you got a problem with me, guys, we could all talk about it one-on-one. I don't have a problem. You can yell at me if you need to, but we know when we walk out of the room, we got to shake our hands. We got to find common ground, but we got to find a way to work together to make everyone's lives better, right? No one's got all the answers. That much I'll tell you. And anyone who tells you they got all the answers is lying to you, right? We learn from our mistakes in life, right? I've made a lot of mistakes, right? But I've always learned, right? I used to be a little bit more hypertension about, yelling and screaming at things when I get mad. But as you get older in life, you learn how to reason with people and you understand the goal. And you have to understand a lot of people that have pressure and they're angry in life, you're not the problem. They just got a lot of pressure in life. They got a house, a mortgage, they're traveling to work, they got kids. Some people have kids with disabilities and stuff like that. And they got a lot going on in their life. So, being in and out of work for them is have a lot more pressure than the guy who's younger who can just survive on unemployment. So we got to bring that into consideration. Remember that. So we got to find a way to always try to look at your brother and sister next to you and feel like, cause if you start looking into the people's issues in life and you look at their struggles and you start to realize, my life isn't so bad. It could be worse. Always remember that. So anyway, what's going on with these long stories? Let's cut to the chase here. What I need everyone to do is still make those calls, call all the members out there. We need to stop the merge, stop the steal. What do you guys need to do? Elect Mike Power for E.S.T, Pete Corrigan for president, and Anthony Vincent for vice president. And together, my team will keep New York money in New York. Keep your pension money out of the hands of the regional councils who will raise your pension to 65 or better. 62 or better, around 65, and take away your lifetime medical. I'll stop the word salads of the Paul Caparsos, the Dave Capomolosos, and the Adam Hawkins, the puppet Adam Hawkins. He's only there because his last name is Hawkins. If it wasn't for his last name, he wouldn't be there. It's just a word. It's just a fact, guys. Dave lied on his payroll for years, right? Dave's own wife don't trust him. Why should we trust him, right? His own wife and family can't trust him. Why should we trust him? Paul's got more money in the bank. If you don't win this election, he's cashing out. He'll walk away. You guys will be in the side view mirror where it says things look closer than they appear. There'll just be a little blimp in the back mirror as he's driving away. So do your best. Make those calls. Get those ballots in the mails. Let's get this election done. And thank you. And thank everyone for your support. Have a good one.